Hi, welcome to Straight Ahead. This is Chris Faddis, the president of Solidarity HealthShare, and I want to thank you for joining us. Last week, we featured our interview with Dr. Mike Parker, the president of the Catholic Medical Association, and all the rest of this month, we're going to feature other providers in Catholic healthcare, and we're going to talk about the future of Catholic healthcare. So I'm excited this week to have Facebook Live opportunity with my good friend and co-founder, Dr. John Oertle, who's joining us by video. Dr. Oertle, it's great to have you with me. It's great to talk over video. I'd love to just today share a little bit about kind of the things we're working on with Solidarity. And you're a little more involved in kind of the day-to-day with our members and helping to make sure they're getting good access to providers, as well as the vision for where we're headed. So we'll talk about that today. But before we begin, if anyone has not met you or heard about you or know your story, really briefly, if you could just tell us about your background and who you are.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thanks, Chris. I appreciate being here with you today. So, like you said, my name is Dr. John Oertle. I'm one of the co-founders and chief medical officer here at Solidarity. But the way I became an actual physician was as I actually have type 1 diabetes myself. And so my kind of story of being a physician and learning about the human body and about what this means really came out of my experience of being a type 1 diabetic and being on the opposite end of the table to the physician and experiencing that patient care firsthand. And so that was where my love of medicine, love of the human body really arose. We knew each other back when I was actually still in high school. So our relationship goes way back, but actually it was, just from those relationships and that we built through the church that really built a strong foundation of Catholic identity in my own life. And so through that was really this growing into how it means to be able to be an actual Catholic physician, and this seeing the human body as something good and beautiful, how God's created us, and unifying who we are as a body with how God has actually created us, and working with nature, working with how God's created the body to be able to obtain the best results and treating those individuals like people. So.
John, or Dr. Oertle, I apologize. One of the things that I love is that having been through the tragedy that I went through in my life, and you being alongside me as a friend during that time with my late wife Angela, is watching now as you're able to care for severely, chronically, ill folks, people with cancers like Angela's. I remember probably a year and a half or two after she died, you called me up and said, you wouldn't believe it, this woman presented just like Angela, the same case, same everything, and she's now cured, and she's, everything worked. And one of the things that I love is how, this advance and everything we've learned and what's been able to happen. Tell me what that's like for you. I mean, you get to see, as a physician, some of the worst of the worst. A lot of times the cases that you see in your own private practice are really beyond. They're already no longer candidates for a lot of conventional treatment, and they come to you a lot of times as a Hail Mary. So tell me, aside from the Hail Mary and the prayers, what that's like for you when you overcome these incredible tragedies that are about to happen in these people's lives, and you're able with medicine and prayer to achieve great results.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So a lot of the work that I do is within late stage disease, cancer, chronic disease that's really seems to be not really these mystery illnesses. And what we do with it is we do a lot of diagnostic workup to be able to actually evaluate, okay, what does the science tell us? What are these biomarkers that are the body is actually showing us, this evidence that we get to be able to then put these pieces together and then really come to a point of really being able to put those pieces together to make sure that the immune system is working the way that it needs to, making sure that again, you're removing the obstacles to healing, whether it be infections, carcinogens, or those toxic elements related to disease. But then also a big part of it is actually treating them as people, not just seeing them as machines, but this beauty of there's something, again, more holistic, more rounded as far as the human person and that spirit, that the mind is so important to be able to be involved in that treatment. I think we can all experience stories of loved ones who we know when they give up that their body shortly follows. And so this is where continuing to be able to keep motivated in the actual, the fight, and be able to actually understand their body. doctor means teacher. So a lot of what I do is being able to actually educate and teach about who they are. And one of the things that I've learned over the course of working with the chronically sick or the terminal ill is that there's more there than just the body itself. That we're more than just the pieces of our tissue. That we are, again, a sum is definitely greater than just the pieces itself. And so this is where, when you start to put those together, that the mind starts to be able to reconcile itself. When you start to be able to go past these anxieties or holding on to the frailties of life, but that you're free to live.
That's one thing that I wanted to
amazing
ask
to see
you.
what the body's potential really is.
With COVID and everything going on in our country right now, we're seeing this unprecedented amount of worry and anxiety and fear. And I think certainly you and I have had this discussion, and it's just been on my heart a lot that there's this lack of trust. Not that we shouldn't, do everything we can to prevent disease and do all the things that we need to do to be prudent and careful and all those things. And those are all fine and good, right? We certainly do that. And we certainly take the medicine we need when we are ill, all those pieces. But there seems to be, even among the faithful, this real lack of trust, this sense, at least that I see, and I think you see it as well, this sense that there's this other thing out there that has a hold on us, and we have no control, and God has no control, and we're so afraid. And I think that there's just this real need for us to rekindle that trust we have in the Lord, right? That no matter what, He's with us, even if we do get COVID or we do get cancer or we do get whatever. My Angela's a great story, right, of that trust. She got cancer, but she still trusted the Lord. So as we think about that, what part have you seen? And it's probably unfair that I ask you this question because I know the answer because I've met a lot of your patients. But what part have you seen that not only faith but trust in the Lord, trust in God's divine providence, plays in the outcome in people's whatever kind of care they're in, cancer care, chronic care?
Yeah, so this actually doesn't actually come from even my own experience, even though I see it all the time in my patients that I treat. But the actual data suggests as well, those who are faithful patients, those who actually trust in the Lord, as you're discussing, actually show that they have better outcomes within chronic disease. And so you actually see peer-reviewed articles as far as that improved outcomes for those who are faithful. You also see this ability when you are in that, I call it, the psychological term is in the grip. You feel when you are, you're in that grip and you're feeling that stress kind of coming from all sides, whether it's financial or you lost a job or you have a loved one who's sick or you yourself are sick. You get placed upon this grip, and when you're in that state, you see that the health properties of somebody that remains in that state, whether it's cardiovascular or your coronary arteries, are actually more occluded as a result of people that stay in that chronic state of stress. You also see this when it comes to immune function, that your immune system is not as vibrant, and you can actually have an objective lowering down of your actual white blood cells and your immune function just by staying in that chronic state of stress. Obviously, you're not eating well, you're not digesting, you don't have good nutrients, you're not sleeping. So it kind of compounds on itself as well. But this is why, again, when you look at those properties of being able to stay healthy, again, anxiety just isn't some, theoretical, I wish I was, feeling better. It actually has a real objective outcome that really doesn't do us well at all. So it really puts you at a disadvantage.
And so it's even more important today.
What's interesting is,
right?
I would also say,
go ahead, John.
What was that?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, you can't, it's hard to say. One of the things that I've learned as a physician as well, you can't just say, as a physician, I can't just say, well, stop stressing out. Would you just stop the stress? Why can't you just stop the anxiety? Very difficult to do, and I would never do it, because anytime I say stop having anxiety, what's the first thing? You're going to say, well, it's not my fault. I don't want to be in this position. But I found one of the best things to be able to help support you when there's anxiety there is gratitude. Gratitude is so critical. And this is where, when I see that when somebody's grateful for what you have, and just this, it puts you in a state of present moment. I've seen that you can't fear the future, you can't regret the past. You stay in a place of just living in that present moment, and it can become a powerful tool to allow us to be able to overcome a lot of those obstacles.
Yeah, that's beautiful, John. So I know that it's one of those things that we're dealing with, and I encourage people just to really, whether it's through gratitude, that's a great example of just finding those things that we're grateful for, even in this time of COVID. And also really just that place of trust. Like I found myself even not being able to go to church on a regular basis and all of that even for myself, we have a chapel in our building, but it's still not the same, right, to go to the church. And just going and praying in the church and helping me to just to kind of reorder my trust to God is really important. So let's move on. Dr. Parker spoke a little bit as well in our interview about that piece of kind of the authority that the Catholic physician receives from the divine physician, and your role as a Catholic physician and supporting and serving the patient, whether they're Catholic or not, but really being able to bring the Catholicity of who you are and the faith that we have and the grace that we have, into those encounters. And I think as you work on behalf of Solidarity's members as a chief medical officer, you have a unique insight into kind of what we're building and designing on the back end to help our members access good quality care. There's no doubt, there's no secret that this has been a very difficult year for us. In the past year, but our system's just not working, and trying to get into the new system and everything. But we don't get to talk enough about what's being built. So I'd love for you to just speak very briefly to that side of everything we're working on care navigation and care coordination for our members to what to look forward to as we look to establish even stronger relationships with providers around the country.
Absolutely, Chris. So Solidarity is absolutely reliant upon good providers, good Catholic providers. And it's so beautiful to be able to just get to meet Catholic providers across the country, because Catholic providers have a unique way that they practice medicine, treating the body with dignity and respect. And in that way, what you actually find is that this is where Solidarity doesn't treat our members. We provide an avenue for members to provide and be given good health care. But if we're relying upon good health care and good providers to be able to allow and direct our members to be able to go and have access to. So it provides this really beautiful opportunity for Catholic physicians to be able to come and to be able to actually provide that care that they are being called to. And I believe it's a calling to be able to be a Catholic physician, that they're called into something unique and something beautiful to serve their patient. And I believe that this is this vision of Solidarity members to be able to help support physicians in their call that God's placed upon their heart to be able to deliver the good healthcare to a receptive patient who's wanting that kind of care, who wants to be able to be dignified in that level of restorative and procreative women's health care, or impeccable hospice care or palliative care in end of life, or being able to restore really beautiful systems back into health and allow for that dignity to be able to be in place.
John, I think there's again, I'm in the belly of the whale working on, these problems and fixing the things we're fixing and working on the new system that's being built, which we're excited about. But could you speak just really briefly? I know there's been a couple stories recently. You're constantly the one, being more engaged with the member, piece, that's telling me these great stories about some of our members. And so I'd love it, if you could just really quickly tell a couple stories of what's going on. One or two that we just talked about would be great.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we had one patient who had COVID-19. So he was in the hospital, bilateral lobar pneumonia, was in the hospital. He got out of the hospital, was continually given self-quarantine. We've built relationships with providers. The provider literally is delivering at-home care, literally went to the patient's home, took all proper, again, quarantine parameters, right? Masked up, gowned up, but was able to deliver continued care at home. That provider has continued to meet that need in our community to be able to still go to do at-home testing so that the members don't have to expose themselves to different people within the community. he's continued to be able to deliver this kind of care. I just find that to be going above and beyond the way that the Christians did in the early churches when the plagues hit, right? They didn't cut and run, but they faced that difficulty, and out of faith, they continued to serve and allow that God's call to be able to just infiltrate their very being and their very practice. That's been beautiful. We've had some incredible responses already to the COVID crisis in regards to, early access to medications, early detection, early access to medications that have really, I believe, made a difference to be able to make sure that they've been able to, keep their lungs clear as
I
well.
think that,
That's
and
been beautiful. I also,
no, I was
go
just going to
ahead.
say that, and also the providers who said, "Hey, will Solidarity reimburse telehealth for our members? For members who are patients of ours." And immediately they got telehealth going, so they could see those people, so that primary care didn't have to stop during the quarantine. I mean, there's just to go off of that piece, that there's just such a really great nimble partnership with some of these providers to work with them towards those ends.
That's exactly right. I also think about it, also another potential member of ours that she's in a difficult position, and she's just got laid off from work, and her and her husband found herself to be pregnant. And so this is where too, just to be able to say, what, these are already a member and they're finding themselves in a difficult position. We've been able to come in and actually be able to share into that pregnancy. Why?
Right.
Because we stand for life, and we understand that these are faithful Catholics doing their best. And yet, I don't know if they, lost their job because of the COVID crisis, but I know that it's not easy for a lot of people who are finding themselves in, positions where they've lost insurance, and they don't have the kind of coverage that they once had because of the employment status for a lot of Americans. And we have this opportunity to be able to come in and fit that need. And so this is where it's been a beautiful thing to be able to serve these members who are found themselves out of coverage or out of insurance, and us coming in to be able to say, what, we'll do what we've, set out to do, and that's provide dignity and love and respect, and let's join our membership so that we can actually take care of your needs. So,
I love that there was a member recently that just actually, I guess it was just today, that, wrote us back because the wife needed a pretty emergent surgery to do some biopsies or some really serious issues, and Solidarity was able to step in and do a single case agreement and get everything going so she can have the surgery tomorrow. And the member wrote back and just said, "I can't believe that God is able to do this through this organization." And I think it's important that our members realize they get to be a part of it. They get to be a part of that. They're enabling, we might be doing the facilitation of those things, but it's because of them coming together and sharing. And when we get those messages, I think it's just such a great reminder of what we're doing. And I think what I'm most excited about, John, is what the members will be able to see soon, when they'll be able to see that sharing a little more live in the new system. So really quickly for me, because I've been telling everyone that we're working towards it, and I'm sure people are tired of hearing it from me, tell me what you're most hopeful about as Solidarity moves into this kind of 2.0 of our existence, and really taking back what we desire to do for our members with our software and our system coming this fall. So give me like your 30-second pitch of what you're most excited about, or what Solidarity is becoming.
Well, I have two things that I'm most excited about. And one, the two things that I would say is, the first one is that you'll see more transparency in the actual share-to-share, the sharing of bills. You'll see this, and there'll be more of a transparency there, being able to see that patient portal and that member portal that you'll have. It really is as good as Chris has been saying it is. It's beautiful to be able to see this. And so having that transparency there is just awesome. And it really puts a lot of our members in that driver's seat. The second thing, though, is that with this actually comes a more efficient bill processing system. So this is where it literally is an engine that's able to have more efficiency in bill processing. So what's great about that is that it'll actually have quicker bill payment times. And so just as far as, like Chris was saying, about having this member who's literally getting the payment before surgery, and it's working smoothly and everything along those lines, you'll be seeing this repeatable, absolutely repeatable for every member. And it's going to be a beautiful thing when that gets put in place, that we'll have this efficiency. So I think providers will love this, members will love it. It's just good all around. So I'm looking forward to being able to actually take the work that we've been working on diligently over the last year and a half, and actually finally presenting it to our members to be able to allow them to actually live in this space that we've been designing. So
Thank you, John. I'm excited as well. I think our members are going to love the fact that they can actually do their own care navigation. They can look for providers on the new portal. They can, they can identify who they want to work with. All those
Absolutely.
things. A lot of great things. I ask, we've got to continue in prayer. So I ask all of our members, if we get through this, dealing with just finally burning down the rest of this backlog, getting through these operational hurdles, and releasing this software as we're slowly rolling it out. I just want to thank you all for your patience and your trust, but also ask for your prayers. I was really struck me today in prayer this morning before the Blessed Sacrament that we need to pray specifically for these things, these hurdles, these trials, and these projects that we're working on. We need to pray specifically. So I want to ask all of our members, those of you watching, to join us in prayer. We're praying for you. We're praying heartily to get through this time. We're working diligently at it as well. But we certainly are lifting our hands and working those hours we need to work. But we also need to ask the Lord to bless it, to work through it, to help us overcome the obstacles. So I want to invite you into that prayer. And one of the easiest ways is inviting you to pray the Memorare with us. Our staff prays it daily. Pray as many Memorares as you can. Remember, Almost Gracious Virgin Mary. If you don't remember it, look it up. Pray as many as you can every day for the work of solidarity, for the mission, because we believe this mission is worth achieving. And while we have a lot of work to do, we know we can do it. So thank you. Thank you, Dr. Oertle, and God bless. We'll see you next time on Straight Ahead.